WNYU-FM, Glitter and Gold, John Fox talking with the last remnants of the New York Dolls, the Heartbreakers, Billy Rath, say hello, Bill.
Hello.
And Jerry Nolan.
Hello.
And Walter couldn't make it today, I don't know, he doesn't have a phone, something like that. Why don't we just talk kind of quickly about what happened when the Dolls broke up? You guys were down in Florida or something like that.
Well, me and Johnny just decided to form another group, that's all. Just weren't interested in things the way they were going and the involvement with Malcolm McLaren at the time. It's just that, I don't know, me and Johnny had different ideas at the time, I guess. Not enough interest in the music. It got too businessy, you know. Malcolm was just more of a... the first time we seen us was in England, when we played in England, and he was sort of a groupie at the time. Just hanging out and following us around everywhere, and he sort of took in all our ideas and things like that, used them in the future for his own little shtick. He's a good tailor, but that's about it, I guess.
And you guys got together with Richard Hell.
Yeah, well, he wasn't doing anything at the time, and we needed a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
So we I know he played with me and Johnny for a little while until we got Billy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard it was something like you guys went to England and Richard was with you, and then you came back. And
no, Richard was only with us for a few months, and I don't know. He had this idea that he was going to be the front man and sing all the songs. So he wanted us to get rid of Johnny. So me and Johnny just got rid of him instead.
Mm-hmm.
I think Walter came in the picture a little bit just before that.
Mm-hmm.
Richard left, and then I showed up in New York and was...
What had you been doing before you joined the Heartbreakers?
I was fooling around down in Florida for a while and then hanging out in Boston before that.
Where are you from originally?
Boston area.
Boston.
I was an army brat, so I just traveled around with my father.
Okay. And then, so I guess that's when things started to roll, when you got the lineup together. Did the Anarchy Tour, short-lived Anarchy Tour. What was it like back in those days? How did the tour go?
Well, the tour didn't go very much. I think we did one gig out of 28. But that was not the point. The point was for us to get out of New York, where we weren't wanted by the business anyway. Well, we really weren't wanted by the business anywhere. But at least English...
Well, why was that, do you think?
Probably unimportant reasons. You know, they weren't concerned about the music or anything like that. Typically, American business... They don't care about music, they just care about what they can, how they can sell a group and things like that. So we weren't interested in them, just as they weren't interested in us. But at least the English kids and the English people that are involved they're interested in groups and music. They're a little more creative anyway. Not very original, but more creative in the sense that they'll try something new with a group that's new, or they're always trying to get involved with new music of some sort. They don't, like Americans, they keep squeezing the same old crap out of the same old group for 10, 15, 20 years. You'll hear the same records all the time. I mean, Americans have the worst taste in the world. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Music, business, two completely opposite entities that don't mean anything to each other. It's absurd, it's stupid.
And in Europe, they're much more open-minded. They sponsor the yachts. If you're an artist in Europe, any kind of artist, the people are behind you. In America, they push, you're in the gutter. As far as they're concerned, you're a bum.
The more original you are, the less chance you have of doing anything.
Well, moving on, then you guys signed to Track Records.
Yeah, another bad idea. We didn't have much choice with our ideas anyway.
Well, who made the decision to go with Track?
Groups...
Childish.
Yeah, groups don't have many decisions that they can make. We had to take somebody to handle some of our business. It's pretty much impossible for a band to handle themselves, especially in the beginning. So we had Lee Childers handle us for a while. He's really a photographer, knows nothing about the business end of it. But I don't know. He sort of was like a mouthpiece for us. So he got us a shabby deal on a shabby label. It really wasn't even a label.
Yeah. Did they do anything besides you guys?
No, they had before. They were the Who's label, and then they kind of dispersed and reformed, regrouped when we showed up in the scene. They had Shakin' Stevens at the time and picked up a few other acts, but then they folded. They went bankrupt.
Well, they just used us for a tax write-off, and made sure they butchered our album so they can claim, a tax write-off, and oh well, these poor boys' albums didn't go so well, so we lost a lot of money on them. You know, they purposely set us up to butcher our album anyway,
Well,
just so they could claim a tax write-up. Because they weren't really a label; they were just, you know, interested in other things, films, for instance. You know, they were investing their money into films and stuff like that. So we just got involved with the.
well, did you guys make the decision to go with Speedy Keen?
No, we really didn't make the decision to go with him. You know, he was sort of forced on us. You know, he owed them some favors, and he did it because he owed them favors, and that was the best way he could get out of it.
Track
So-
Records brought him in on the picture. Actually, the first 6 cuts were done without him. He wasn't even around.
Who produced the first 6 cuts?
It was
You
Chris
guys?
Stamp was doing it along
Well,
with us.
he showed up once in a blue moon. Actually, he didn't do anything technically. Nobody did really anything, you know, that well technically. They just sort of threw us in the studio, we recorded, and that was it. I mean, I took that whole tape and remixed it myself, but nobody wanted to hear about it then, you know, because they didn't know any better. Everybody thought it sounded great until 7, 8, 9 years later, all of a sudden they think they wanted to remix the album. I mean, it's too late. Well, the songs are, you know, 10 years old already.
Yeah. Well, why don't we listen to something from the album now? We'll listen to the remix of it.
We haven't even heard the remix. This was all done without our knowledge.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but this is Can't Keep My Eyes on You on WNYU FM, Glitter and Gold. WNYU FM, Glitter and Gold, Can't Keep My...
Eyes on you?
Right, or cocky.
That's
Well,
cock in your face.
right, and that's the remix of LAMF, revisited here in 1984. Walter showed up. How you doing, Walter?
All right. Couldn't find a place.
Okay, now, we're talking about LAMF. Now, what happened after the record when Johnny left, went to Real? What were you guys up to then?
Walter and I were still in England at the time, and Johnny wanted to go solo, didn't want to play with Walter any longer, so Walter and I decided to stick together, and we did this single at the time, which now is called The Heroes, but we had done it in England back, what year was that?
77.
Yeah.
What songs from it?
7-day weekend, Too Much Junkie Business.
We did it on Island at the time.
Did it ever come out?
No, it never came out. Island was doing this thing where they're releasing a whole lot of just single things from new groups, but there was just probably we're gonna call the label Speedball Records or something
Speedball,
like
yeah.
that. But it never, they never got the money together. They never released it. They just, you know,
The guy
made
who
a
was
couple
running
singles.
Speedball did too many, so they decided to drop him.
Too many speedballs.
Yeah, that's not what it was, probably.
And all of a sudden it appeared in France just recently, and they pressed it up, released it as The Heroes.
Yeah, Island still had the master tape. Someone just came in from France and bought the tape from Island. God knows how they got it. They stole it.
So you didn't get any money for that Heroes thing?
No.
Well, we originally got paid for it.
We got
from
advance
Island.
from Island, yeah.
Or that it just kind of showed up somewhere and you had no idea?
Just popped up. A kid stopped at my house one day a couple months ago with the record. Hey, you got a record out? I'm going, oh yeah? This has been happening constantly in the last year and a half, 2 years. Every time I go to a record store, there's a new one. There's a new album out of the Heartbreakers or Johnny or Heroes. Albums, singles, EPs. And it's all the same songs over and over again.
People find these tapes and release them, you know, and don't ask anyone.
Old managers they dig up tapes and sell them.
Hey, well, what about the Live at Max's album? Were you guys in on that whole thing?
Yeah, we negotiated that whole thing.
Well, Jerry, where were you when that was going on?
No, I took a walk. Are you kidding? I mean, enough was enough. By that time, even I knew better. I mean, I learned that this business is nothing but a bunch of parasite cutthroats, you know, and squeeze every dime they can out of something. I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, we never saw a dime from Live at Max's. They popped in the advance.
Then we got a fair advance on it, and that was it.
Every time our lawyers would call up Max's trying to get, you know, some statement or whatever, they'd either hang up the phone on or wouldn't talk to them, or we never found out how many things were sold or whatever. I think Gem Records in Jersey were distributing them. I think they were bootlegging them down in their basement or something like that and just selling them on their own. God knows. They'd pop up in stores everywhere, but we never know how many were sold.
Yeah, but you guys, you know, around that time, you still played some more gigs at Max's.
Yeah, we were doing gigs.
You got along all right with them?
Well, everything
Yeah.
was done legally at the beginning. It
It's all
was
legal.
released, you know, all proper and everything. But since then, they're supposed to give us statements, which
We
we've
never got
seen
statements,
anything.
and Max's just closed up, went bankrupt or something or other, so we never saw anything.
Hey, well, after all that mess, what happened to you, Bill? Where did you take off to?
Oh, I just got sick of New York. Took off to Boston for a while to recuperate. Now I'm living over in Stockholm, in Sweden. Been working with Johnny for the past year and a half, off and on. Put a band together in Stockholm. Been doing some producing there, too.
And you going back there tomorrow? Something like
Yeah, I
that?
leave tomorrow.
And you're going to be back in New York soon, or you down?
Oh, there's rumor in September we might be doing some kind of work, the four of us.
Heartbreakers reunion for
Yeah,
the
possibly.
100th time.
I don't know, reunions.
And then, so I guess that was around the time, Walter, when you actually put together the Heroes.
When?
After,
Which time?
I don't know, I guess
After
around
what,
1981, after.
Yeah, because after, well, first I thrown this band together, the Hurricanes, with Billy and a couple other people, and that only lasted a couple of gigs, and then I was playing with John again, and then I guess around 80, 81, 82, whatever, started the Heroes with Billy, and I went through a couple of personnel changes. Billy left, I got another bass player, and we were doing
What was
gigs
Billy
around.
Rogers playing drums?
Yeah, Billy was on drums, and originally Billy Rath was on bass, but then he split.
We did a single before I left.
Yeah, we do a single. I have a tape of it actually home, and it's stuck up, and Jimmy Miller produced it. But we never got the money to get it out of the cutting studio. So
What
it's still
songs did you do on it?
Crazy Little Baby,
Oh.
and
That's the
and
best
Turn
of all
It On.
those songs.
Oh yeah, you like that? Yeah, that was a single. I have tapes of it, but we never got the money together to. We put it to Sterling Sound. I have it mastered, cut, or whatever they call it, mastered. And we didn't have the money at the time to get it out because this one guy from Detroit was supposed to release it, but he screwed up. And typical, music business.
In another year or two, somebody will probably dig it out of the archives and release it.
Yeah, rip it off from us and release it.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we listen to that Heroes single now that got ripped off from the archives?
Okay.
Came out on Skydog Records. I think, about
Skydog,
a year
yeah,
ago.
that's a French label. With this pirate in charge of it.
Mark
Zamati,
Zamati, another
yeah.
another low life, another low life parasite crook. So,
If you're out there, Mark.
he's probably in jail now anyway.
Yeah, he just got out of serving 9 years.
But then one thing is another.
19.
Low lives.
God damn, these people release a record while they're in jail.
Okay, so this one's going to be a 7-day weekend. You got any story behind this one, or is it just kind of a ditty?
Well, actually, the Dolls used to do it in the early days. They used to do it live. So I just remember when it came out as a kid, I used to love the song. And I remember when the Dolls
Who
did it, I
wrote
thought
it?
it was great. I forget. Gary U.S. Barnes performed. I'm not sure who wrote it. I actually forget who wrote it. They have it on the record that I wrote it. It was they had their minds. Not to release these things.
All we know is Gary and the U.S. Barnes
Jesus
recorded it.
Christ.
I don't know, and these people can't even get the facts right when they rip up the record. I don't know.
The old USA, yeah. They don't even know what they got in their own backyard.
I don't know,
It's
it's
sick.
crazy.
It's sick. They invented rock and roll, and they're still walking around with their heads up their ass, and they don't even know it. They're looking over to England as if England came out with something new, It's so stupid.
Okay, so anyway, this was going to be 7-day weekend on WNYU FM, Glitter and Gold. WNYU FM, Glitter and Gold, 7-day weekend. Walter Lord, Billy Rath, Jerry Nolan up in the studio. That was the Heroes single, and this is Glitter and Gold. Now, after all this mess, Jerry, you took off to Sweden, I guess, for a while.
Yeah, well, I went with Johnny just to do a tour there. It turned out to be actually a lot of fun. Playing with Johnny is one thing; is never boring.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Might not
at
be
least
fun,
something
but
to look
it's
forward
never
to.
boring.
It's always a lot of fun anyway.
Lately, it's
If
been a lot of
nothing
fun.
else.
Yeah,
But we just went there to do a small tour, and Johnny ended up going after the tour. He just went to England for a while, and came back to New York, and then I just stayed there for a little over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. You put together a single out there, didn't you? Solo
Well, I
single.
just did an old song of ours. That's all. It was nothing new or anything different or anything like that.
Now, Sylvain played on that record. Was he
Yeah,
over there with you?
No, I happened to just bump into him there because he was there doing a gig. But I mean, I didn't send for him anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you get along with Sylvain now? Or?
Well, I don't really see him that much. I
He's
get
doing
along with
funk
anybody if
stuff
I
now.
bump into him for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But well,
In the middle of June.
I hardly see any of those guys except
What about-
of course for Johnny.
Yeah. What about David? Do you guys?
No, see, it's basically musical. Musically, me and Johnny have always been pretty much alike. Always like playing together. That's basically why we're together. But the rest of the guys, we don't have that much in common musically. This is probably the reason why we never stayed together.
Jerry and I are going back. Johnny's doing a tour. We're doing a tour of France and Spain and Scandinavia in June. And we just found out he asked Sil to come along with us. So he's going to be the other guitar player.
What about you, Walter?
I'm sort of in New York. I have a job and stuff like that. I didn't really want to leave New York unless it's...
He wants to keep an eye on all his money down in
You working on Wall Street?
Yeah, I have a job down on Wall Street and brokerage type stuff. Yeah, I went over to Europe in March and played with John. You know, we did a little tour of France and England with us. But the thing is, you know, I don't want to leave for any length of time unless it's secure. Because playing with John before, you know, you play with him, you make some money for a little while, and then like you have a fight and he gets mad at you and he fires you, something like that. So I'm stuck in Afghanistan with no plane ticket and no way to get home. No money.
We actually did a new live album too while we were together in London.
Then it's not really a band. It's just, you know, Johnny's doing a tour and, you know, he's hiring, you know, us to back him up more or less in a sense.
Yeah.
If it was the Heartbreakers, I'd do it. But if it's just, you know, going there for, you know, $100 here and there or something like that, it's not really worth it. I didn't want to be a backup man to him, so. You know, he doesn't want to have a band, Johnny. He wants to be a solo artist.
Mm-hmm.
But he's
Yeah, I see on the new, the remix saying it's Johnny Thunders.
Right, yeah,
and the
I know. That's
Heartbreakers.
all that management. His management
that's
talks
all,
him
you
into
know,
that
that's
shit.
all that phony commercial bullshit. You know, anybody, you know, that's just another reason to make a buck. You know, I mean, it's not like musicians or the artists have anything to say about it. Especially the less you're together. If you're not together as a unit, people will walk all over you. If you're
Right.
together as a unit, as a fist, you know, you can kick ass instead of getting your ass kicked.
You know, Bill, you said you guys recorded an album on that tour that you just did. Are there going to be any new songs on that?
No, it's the same
It's
old.
just, I don't know what songs got on the album. Do you know what songs got on the album, Joey, from the gig?
Same old stuff.
Yeah, you know, we didn't like do any new stuff or trying to rehearse. See, John knows that the only band that, you know, is any good is the four of us, but until he comes to realize that it's got to be a band and not just one guy and his backup musicians, it's never going to work. Nothing's ever going anywhere.
You know, it always seems to be that certain type of combination that always makes a great band a great band. You know, I think the Heartbreakers was the greatest bands I've ever seen in my life, and I was glad to be a part of it. But it takes a certain combination for certain talent to come out of a person, a single artist, and without that certain combination, you know, you're just a run-of-the-mill band or a run-of-the-mill musician. You know, no matter how good, bad, or indifferent or original you are, it's not important. It's just that certain combination that
It's that
makes it
magical
happen.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, when are we going to see that new record with old songs?
I don't know. When's it coming out?
The new record with old songs should be out within 2 months. It's on
live.
ABC, the live album you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just,
Yeah.
You
should
guys
be out
getting any
in about
money
2
for
months.
that?
We got an advance
Yeah,
for
we got a little bit of
it, and
advance,
we've got
yeah.
proper contracts to get the
yeah, we'll get
royalties
royalties.
off it.
Yeah, this is finally being done legitimate, so supposedly. We'll have to wait and see if I get ripped off on that too somehow.
That's stuff that's, you know, like 15 to 20 years old that he had written as a child, you know. And, you know, none of us would do it because it was too boring to do live, you know. So he got it off his chest and put it on a record by himself with hired musicians, that's all. You know, as far as rock and roll music, you know, it has nothing to do with rock and roll music. It's just, you know, just some poetry jive, you know, that he fiddled around with, you know, that he recorded one day.
He got good reviews on the record, but I personally
Yeah,
haven't sat down to listen to it.
Yeah, he's got all these flunkies hanging around him.
It's just boring folk music, that's all.
There's all these flunkies hanging around that just tell him everything he does is great, so he just decides to record any sort of fart noises he made in the bathroom, anything, and these guys tell him it's wonderful, and they'll sit with a guitar for 10 minutes and they'll record it, and they'll tell him it's wonderful.
And so what's going on now with the Waldos and your solo kind of work?
Well, it was a band I threw together in New York with different people. We were playing gigs around. It's nothing really, you know, like earth-shaking. Yeah, I just had to keep playing as I did it. It was fun. We're not recording or anything like that yet. We're just gigging here and there.
Well, guys, we're going to listen to one more song, and that's Jerry, your solo record, Take a Chance.
Well, it's not really a solo record. It's just something
Having
I did.
fun.
Just something I did because I had nothing else to do.
Okay.
But it's no big solo deal and no big deal at all.
Okay, yeah, couldn't even remember the song, I think.
No.
But anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for coming down. And, yeah, anything else to say? Wrap it up?
We'll see you all in the future some way or other.
Yeah, we'll all be
Some
hanging
form.
out in the rock and roll world for a while.
Okay. So this is rock and roll, all right.
Yeah.
So this is WNYU-FM,
Dazzle us,
See you down the Lower East Side.
Glitter and Gold with Jerry Nolan's Take a Chance with Me.